When winter arrives, the temperature drops. And here in the Maritimes, our excitement rises. We embrace the adventures that cold weather brings, like new discoveries with old friends, a hot plunge on a chilly night, familiar faces in cozy new spots, and fun days that become chill nights. In New Brunswick, we know how to do winter.
The new 7.4 medium cranking rod from Ducket Fishing that we designed, it's one of those rods that if you're out there and you're throwing a deep chatterbait, you're throwing a crankbait, you're throwing a rattle trap, you're throwing whatever it may be that you're making long cast with, but you want that flexibility, you want that bend in it, but still give you the backbone, because when those fish come up and jump, they're gonna throw. They're gonna try to throw a heavy bait, you know, crankbait, whatever bait you're throwing, they wanna throw it. So the bend in the rod, the medium action at the very tip of this thing, it's unbelievable. It allows those fish to shake, but still stay hooked up. So check out the new Chris Lane 7.4 medium cranking rod from Ducket Fishing.
Seeing the fish, their position, and how they respond in real time. That's game changing.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Fish East Live. To say we're a little bit excited about this one would be an understatement. Hang on a second here. We're just having some technical difficulties and we're trying to find a way to fix it. So I had to turn some volume down on another device. Yeah, folks, we're on the air. You know, we have gone live 2 weeks ago now on Wild TV. 2 episodes out there, our premiere from Long Lake Adventures, and then episode 2 that's just aired this past Thursday night for the first time from up around the Chaleur region, where we got to try targeting stripers 4 different ways. I don't want to give away too much yet. We'll probably get to it before the show's over, but some ways were more successful than others. As always, joining me tonight from down in hopefully not excessively icy Nova Scotia, like I know parts of it are, but my partner in crime, Mr. Matt Zito.
Hey, Donnie.
How you doing tonight, my friend?
Oh, good, and it is icy here.
How bad did you guys get it?
Oh, we got it pretty bad. We were I was without power here for 48 hours, just over 48 hours, so. And a lot of the trees are just bent right over. There's a lot of ice. It was pretty nuts.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about you know, having no power and trying to. And I mean, I can relate here. A few years ago, we went without power between Christmas and New Year's for a week after a big ice storm. So I definitely sympathize and, you know, wish I could do a little more to help out our friends in Nova Scotia. But for now, warm thoughts and positive wishes.
Yeah, well, I think for the most part, I think everyone's got their power back now. I think there was maybe a few in the area that didn't, but hopefully they're warm and safe.
Okay, well, hopefully that's the case. And Matt, you didn't get to join us to film the first 2 episodes that are out there. I'm hoping
I wish I had.
I'm hoping you've taken the time to watch them.
Yes, I did. Absolutely. I wasn't going to miss those.
Perfect. So I'm pretty excited to talk about it. I'm hoping we have lots of questions coming our way from the folks at home and, from yourself. And we got a couple other guys waiting in the wings, one of whom was, might have been there for a little bit of that filming action. And the other one is a good friend of the show's and a good friend of ours. So without further ado, I think we should bring on my partner in crime on Fish East TV, Mr. Ben Wu, and my partner in crime yesterday, ice fishing, chasing some hake, Mr. Pete Stoddard.
Hey.
Gentlemen.
Oh, gentlemen.
How we doing, guys?
Good. How you guys doing?
Oh, well, here going to talk a little fishing, talk a little Fish East, the show. Now that it's a reality and people are getting to see the results of all the hard work put in. But Ben, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think before we go any further, we should send a big shout out to the folks who really made this happen. Our cameramen, Nate and Mitch, all the Fish East contributors that worked behind the scenes, the variety of different guests and co-hosts who will get a chance to join us, as this series goes along. We're going to do one of these every 2 weeks, but there's way more that goes on behind the camera than in front of it. And without all those folks, this wouldn't have happened.
Absolutely not. And let's definitely not forget to take a minute and thank our partners that really helped us financially get, these goals met. First and foremost, Tourism New Brunswick. Without their support, obviously, out of the 9, shows, 7 of them are in New Brunswick. And we wouldn't have been able to do it without their support. And, on that note, the other 2 being in Nova Scotia. So, Fish Nova Scotia initiative out of the province of Nova Scotia, Matt, as you know, we couldn't have done it without them, as well as the Guides Association of Nova Scotia as well. And obviously, LJ Patterson Sales for hooking us up with that rig to be able to go have fun and, dunk in all these amazing bodies of water that we got to visit with their boat. And that I think was it was a legend boat at that, it was a 17-foot that we used for most of the shooting. And last but not least, shout out to Connell Chrysler for hooking us up with that Dodge. It was diesel, wasn't it, Donnie? It was
Dodge 1500 Eco Diesel. What a rig to drive around the province and tow a boat with. I mean,
absolutely.
I've towed boats in a lot of different places, and the fuel mileage has never been that good.
Yeah, and you know what? And all that means is, this is a show that really showcases the region, the Atlantic Canadian region, the Atlantic Canadian provinces, and we're sponsored by companies, from here that supported the initiative, and they deserve every ounce of our thanks.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, and I guess another big thank you to the folks who supported us along the way. I mean, my wife and son, Ben, you're, Ange and the boys, and Matt, for you when you traveled with us, the families behind the scenes mean more than anything.
Yeah, because without them, we wouldn't be able to go play, would we?
No, exactly.
Very, very important piece of the framework here.
Let's not misconstrue how much effort that we had to put into filling those cookie jars before leaving, though, right? With all the honeydew list. I mean, come on, we let's give ourselves a pat on the back. We made it happen. So that's important. It's all about balance.
Exactly. So we are having some technical difficulties. We are supposed to be being joined by Clay Harrison from Long Lake Adventures and Matt Roy from Bass Attack Fishing. I'm not sure if we've heard from Matt yet. I've got Clay on the phone. My only concern now is if I switch him over, turn up my volume on my phone, I'm going to get some feedback.
Well, let's give him some time. I know he's trying to work things out in the back, but I thought it'd be a good idea. Matt, like Donnie said, you didn't have a chance to join us for that one, even though we've talked about Long Lake so many times. Pete, I know you've been to Long Lake before. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I made the inaugural trip last summer. I went up with my wife, Michelle, and the 2 kids. And unfortunately, it was a quick trip because it was kind of a business meets business, and let's go stay there and meet up with Clay and Tanya. But I can tell you, for the, so let's say 28 hours that we were on site, it was awesome. unbelievable. We hooked salmon down below on the fly, and we hooked Lakers, like, just unbelievable. I can't believe it's taken me that long to get there.
Well, okay,
and
so
I'm ashamed to say it now.
Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. Fish East is here to the rescue for everybody who's watching. When I first heard about this spot, it was Donnie that brought it up, and I remember having that first conversation with Clay. And Clay's like, "What do you mean? You guys want to come to a TV show? This whole thing?" He goes, "I don't know." And on top of that, we're local, we're kind of new, starting up. Who would have known what would happen with COVID? Because with COVID, obviously the whole staycation thing kind of came about. So we nailed, I feel, the timing on the head with putting such an amazing resource that we have here locally in our province and putting it out there for the masses to know about and to learn about. Now, we did our research. We showed up. Obviously, if you guys have watched the show, we caught a lot of fish. That was definitely not the problem. But we also wanted to show what you're getting. If you're going to commit the time and the money to go up to visit Clay and his family up there, let's be honest, this is not a 30-minute ride from any major city center. You know what I mean?
No.
It's a commitment.
It's not a 30-minute ride from a paved road.
Okay, from a paved road, right? And there's a dirt road, and it's a long dirt road, right? And the last convenience store I think you're going to see, is in Plaster Rock, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So that's your last, you want some storm chips or whatnot, that's where you're getting it. There's no other stop after that. However, when you arrive, and, I've had the luxury of having experienced different, world-class lodges across Canada, all different types of species, all different types of scenarios. And let me tell you, this place is top-notch. Not only is it set up for even the beginner to succeed, because that's something else we didn't really talk about. A lot of times, you go to a show and you hear this information, you learn about these lodges that you want to visit. They never really talk about the level of difficulty or the level of skill that is required to be successful at some of these situations. And I'm speaking at large, all different kinds of, species. When it comes to lake trout, there is no better place that I have personally ever seen. And the reason I say that is because the lake is so well maintained. They don't open it for ice fishing. That's something else that I learned. I wish we'll go get Clay on and ask him about that. And the way he manages it there. And I'd like to hear your experience, Pete. We caught them a certain way, and I know we're going to get messages about how we caught them. Maybe not the most traditional way, because obviously the traditional way would be more of a trolling type of technique, but also depends on the time of year. And this is the one thing before I pass the mic over. Guys, we were there like end of summer, beginning of fall. This is not the prime time to be targeting lake trout by any means. We found a pattern that worked at that time of the year based on their behavior. But make no mistake, if you're going there, when he opens, I think it's in May, June, these are stellar months. I'm not sure what month you went, Pete, but I can tell you first thing, if you're going to get there, those premium times, you're, weather permitting, you should have the time of your life.
Yeah, we got there in July, and the fish are holding where the lower lake, I think it's Mud Lake that Long Lake dumps into at the bottom. So at the night, the fish crawl up the shore, and I think probably in the springtime, the Lakers probably move a little bit closer to shore too, right? Like as the night comes on, so you got a chance that even if you're not fishing from a boat, that you can cast from shore. And I think they might even target them later in the fall with flies from the shore, but I've never caught a.
Well,
once the lake turns over,
exactly.
they're going to come back up shallow again. But until the lake turns over and that thermocline flips, it's they're going to be hugging the bottom and sitting in 60, 80 feet of water, 100 feet of water.
Yeah. See, lake trout, they have a comfort zone, right? Where a certain degrees of temperature, a threshold where they like to live in. So what happens is in the spring, when the ice comes off, the entire water column is all cold. That allows them to go wherever they want, and they'll be comfortable everywhere. That's why you can get them up shallow. You don't really need downriggers. They're biting up top. Sometimes you can get them with jerkbaits just on the surface or from shore or fly fishing even. As the summer months, as the heat comes on, that warm water on top kind of starts to separate with the cold water under, causing what Donnie just referred to as the thermocline. At that point, the fish, literally, it's like a ceiling for them. They're going to come up to that thermocline. As soon as it hits that heat or that temperature that they're not comfortable with, it's like a roof. They won't go past that. Okay. Yeah. What happens in the fall, all of a sudden the air temperature is now starting to drop. So that top water is starting to get cooler. And at a certain point, it gets heavier than the water on the bottom and it mixes up. That's what called the turnover. Once that happens, back to spring. They'll roam wherever you want. So to your comment, Pete, in the fall, after the turnover, you can absolutely target them from shore off the surface.
Yeah, I've heard of them targeting lake trout in 4 feet of water, not necessarily a long lake. And that's always kind of intrigued me because and that's literally the first time I've ever even caught a lake trout and ever even fished for them. But that they're actually targeting lake trout in 4 feet of water from the shoreline in waders, like
nuts.
I want to do that next.
I can't even say I've ever caught a lake trout on the in waders. Have you, Pat?
What's that?
I was asking Matt if you've ever caught a lake trout and how much were you drooling?
I've never caught a lake trout, period. I've never even seen one with my own eye. So
really,
that's my goal this year, big time.
Very cool.
Big time. Yeah.
I
would love to get one on a fly though. That's my goal.
I can tell you.
I'll try to do it on the fly.
I started fishing lake trout trolling flies in the early season.
Okay.
First time I ever hooked up or ran into lake trout were trolling flies. I was on a lake where there was landlocked salmon, very similar to Long Lake.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'd seen some kind of like bustling at the surface early in the morning. So I'm thinking this is salmon like spooling up on, smelt or something like that. So of course I do a troll and I had a sinking line on a fly, just a streamer, and hooked up. I said, yeah, I got a landlock. But no, they were Lakers, and they were Lakers all day that day. Absolutely. All right, we got some.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll gotta get up there early and try it out. But we got a couple lake trout lakes here that I might dip into this year. So
maybe you'll practice on those before you get up to the jumbo.
Yeah, there's a little warm up. Little warm up. I like it. A good idea.
Absolutely. Donnie.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Oh no, go ahead. You first.
No, I was just going to say, I've got Clay on the line here. I don't know if he's been able to reconnect in the background. But unfortunately, to put him through this way on the speakerphone, the only voice he can see because I'm wearing a headset is me. So if someone has a question, I'm going to have to relay it. So it's just one of those things. These things happen. And
I see them in the back. If you put Clay on, we can give it a try. Ask him to go on the screen. Let's give it a try.
Clay, if you want to jump on the screen there, if you can hear me, we'll try and link you up through the main show. If not, we'll try the phone route.
Absolutely. I see Steve Clapperton just invited you, Matt. Let's find out. Steve, I would say he knows.
My buddy Steve. I'll be up, Steve.
All right, let's go ahead and try getting Mr. Clay Harrison on. What's going on, Clay? Can you hear us?
We there?
We're there.
We're there.
All right,
Clay.
Nice. Okay, Clay, can you do me a favor and rotate your phone sideways so we get the widescreen action on you? There we go. Have your ears been burning tonight? Because we've been talking about you for a bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Did you get a chance to watch the show, Clay, or is that a rhetorical question?
Oh, I sure did.
What are your thoughts? Oh.
No, he muted his mic.
Oh, he was just about to tell us. You muted your microphone. Okay, I wonder if he can hear us. I'd love to hear what he thought of the show.
Yeah, well, that's...
There he is.
He's speechless.
There you go.
Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. Boys.
No worries. Yeah. So, what were your thoughts on the show on your property?
It was a great show. I had butterflies watching it and thought it was very, very well done, and was very proud to be able to be part of it. And you guys certainly showcased a very different aspect of what we do at Long Lake Adventures, but showcased it very, very favorably. And Tanya and I would both like to say, job well done, very well done by everyone, all four of you that were there. So,
well, we appreciate that, and obviously thank you and Tanya. And the whole setup was just amazing, like we had mentioned. What are some of the questions or feedback that you've had since the show has aired? Were people surprised in what we were doing, or what kind of feedback have you received?
The most common feedback that I've got, and everybody leads with this, is they caught a fish in 20 minutes.
So let's clarify.
Surprised
that.
it took that long.
Let's clarify that.
It was 7.
It was 7 minutes. No, I'm just, it wasn't
7
7 minutes.
minutes.
It was probably about 20 minutes. But but the truth is, and no word of a lie, we probably found fish in 7 minutes. It took 7 minutes to locate fish, and it probably took another 10 minutes to nail down, or not nail down, but at least get to a presentation that intrigued them enough to want to play. Is that fair to say,
Right.
Donald?
Yeah, that is. I mean, the first presentation, I will say, you had a bite probably within the first 10 minutes. That fish came off, didn't make it to the boat, and then we couldn't get another one to go on that same presentation. 2 or 3 more changes in presentation, rate of fall, size, everything, and it was game on. And it was from 20 minutes on for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah. So I got a lot of questions. I'm going to go ahead and answer one question that I told whoever asked me that I would say on this show. How did we know where to start? If you've never been there before, Clay must have told you exactly where to go. Clay, can you go for the record and tell the folks listening that you gave us a general idea of vicinity, but did no way give us a waypoint to start on?
Definitely. Yeah, no, it was quite remarkable. I mean, I guess they figure the miracle of television or whatever, but it was a very honest experience. You didn't want too much information. You wanted a chance at Long Lake to go and discover it yourselves. And, behind the scenes is behind the scenes, but I played a very, very, very small part in what you guys produced for a show. It was pretty inspiring, and it was great to see someone go out and be able to, learn a lake that fast and capitalize on it as you did. And you're not the first group to do it, just one of the first groups on television to do it.
Fair enough. Oh, no, by no means are we claiming that, but I wanted to share with our listeners and our viewers a couple of tips when you get to not only Long Lake, but any body of water that you've never been on before. How do you approach it? What do you do? Your first instinct is going to go to try to get local information. If the place has a guide or an experienced guide, you might want to lean on them a little bit for some generic information as to what kind of zones. But what you really want to do is do a lot of homework before you even leave your house. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of tools that us anglers today have access to that, my father didn't, or your fathers didn't. Google Earth being one of them. You know what I mean? That tells you a lot. The amount of information that you read on forums. I mean, not all of it is true, but there certainly is a lot of good information out there that can key you in on certain things. What kind of bait is in there? What kind of year? Did they catch them shallow? So on and so forth. From experience going in, we had a game plan. Donald and I had spoke, and he said, at this time of year, it's towards the end of summer, and it's a little bit more north. It's probably even more advanced than that. It's probably into fall already, depending on the water temperatures. And typically these fish, they're going to think about spawning. Usually it's in the October range where these fish spawn. Having said that, they usually start grouping up at this time. So when they start grouping up, what you're looking for, and I think we mentioned that in the show, is that you're not looking for a onesie or twosie. If that was in the middle of summer, it's going to be tough to find a whole group of them. But in the fall, you could definitely kind of look for what we call these wolf packs. What was I targeting? Well, we started with the deepest and moved our way up because we know that the fish like to go deep. But we also recognize that the turnover was we got there right kind of in it. I don't remember exactly the temperature. I think if you go back on the video, you'll see on the screen of our sonars what the temperature was. It certainly wasn't warm. That's for sure. It was getting into lower temperatures. We started with the first hole literally adjacent to the launch, like drive straight out until there's a hole. I think what I'm talking about, Clay. I'm sure you show a lot of people that area, and we literally went straight there. I think it took all of 3 minutes to drive there in that boat. Once we got that, put down the regular sonar, and all we were looking for was bodies. Where, at what depth are we going to start seeing bodies? And I think the first depth that we ran into fish was probably near about 70 feet, roughly. And it was on not a super steep slope, but kind of like on a gradual slope. And that's kind of important when it comes to lakers. They don't really love the super steep slopes. They kind of like the gradual slopes a lot more, from my experience. Once we located that, then it was a question of figuring out what do they want. And that goes back to what Donnie was talking about, the different presentations. And we ended up with the jig head with the minnow bait. So that's kind of how it played out. Unless there's anything I missed there, Don? What's that?
what did you guys start with? Like, I know like you have experience with lake trout. Like what was in your head? Like you're like, okay, this has worked for me in the past. So what did you start with? And then you kind of, like if you watch the show, you kind of saw what the bait was.
100%.
But like, what did you originally start with?
I'm going to answer two questions at once. I got a question coming in from Renee Peltier, who asks, how much did live scope affect your success? And could someone with a regular fish finder have that same success? So from experience, I've known fishing other bodies of water in other provinces that in the summer months, the fish are typically deep and they really like chasing swim baits with a paddle tail. In fact, all you got to do is drop it all the way to the bottom, start reeling up, and you'll see that fish coming up to chase it. They like that wagging. Started with that because I wasn't sure if I was still in a late summer or a kind of fall situation. They really like chasing that bait in the summertime from the depths. So we started with the paddle. We couldn't even lift a fish. They would not follow it. They didn't want to come up. We're like, no. And just knowing the fact that these are either A, lake trout, or B, landlocks, we know it's one of these two species that we were looking at, right? But typically a landlock ain't going to stay on the screen for that long. They move around so much, whereas these fish are just staying put on a spot. So kind of indicating that these got to be lake trout. After playing with different size paddle tails, we switched it up to a split tail minnow presentation, which you'll see in the show. And we're just trying to match the hatch on what they're eating, which you typically would be a smelt or small type of minnow, that type of profile. But how they wanted it just right there in their face. No big movements. You'll notice we're not doing big jerks or big swings. We're literally just almost as if you were ice fishing is the best way I can explain it, Matt. And to answer Renee's question, I fished for years vertical lake trout before any of this technology of, Panoptics or live, any of this came out. The best tool for fishing vertical lakers is a flasher. Period. Start with the flasher. If you can read the flasher, then the rest just makes it that much easier. So that's hopefully that answers the question.
It really was a pretty simple technique. And like you said, a flasher matches that technique perfectly because it's straight vertical up and down. If you can see where the fish are at in the water column, you can see where you need to put that jig.
Yep, 100%. And then the rest is like ice fishing, trying to see the reaction of the fish based on your movements. Do they want it jiggled up? Do they want it up and down? Do they want it hitting the bottom? And, you could tell that on the flasher and how they follow. The only thing is with this new technology, like a live scope or any of this new technology, it shows you more of a wider scope of how they're reacting as far, on a flasher, you only see the vertical. On these wide angle units, like you saw on the show, you can kind of see, are they moving away from it or are they coming close to it? That you can't see on a flasher as much. Or, that little twitch, is it actually turning away or is it going towards? And once you figure that out, well, the rest is rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I honestly would say when it came to the technology side of things that we used, the spot lock trolling motor actually is the bigger asset than the Panoptics was. Because in that much water, obviously you're not putting, anchor lines down to hold yourself perfectly in position when you're sitting in 85 feet of water. So the spot lock trolling motor was probably the biggest key, more so than the sonar technology.
You're 100% right. If you give me the choice between a trolling motor that can keep us in place versus, live scope or rail, whatever, every brand makes it now, I would take that locking trolling motor every day of the week, because it doesn't matter how good your sonar is. If you can't stay on top of the fish and put that presentation vertical, there's no point, because they're not chasing it horizontal. I think I mentioned that on the show. You could take that same bait, cast it out, and work it back to the boat. You ain't getting bit. They want it up and down, period. That's 100% for sure at that time of year. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm curious, now that I said that though, do you get a lot of success trolling in the late summer, fall, Clay?
Yes.
You do, eh? Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I was
So
listening to what you were saying. We had one group in particular in later this year than when you were there and actually did the show, and the fishing was fantastic.
Were they high up?
It was, yeah. It was just like springtime all over again.
There you go.
And very aggressive. I mean, the wolf packing and stuff, like several double hitters. It was quite an experience actually, and the weather wasn't fine. We dealt with some pretty significant winds and stuff, and it's a new season for us, actually. That the late season has became, pretty attractive. So,
can I tell you what's great about that late season? Typically, you'll get less traffic because there's just seems to be less people that want to fish that time of year. But I think it's about to get better. And yeah, I kind of like the no bugs. I'm a big fan of the no bug fall fishing. Huge fan of it.
Hey, that is the one good thing I will say. You guys got me out ice fishing a couple times this year. I haven't seen a mosquito anytime we've been out.
I know. Imagine that. No black flies, dog flies, none of that nature.
So, well,
Clay,
we were there in July to visit Clay and Tanya, and we didn't see any flies then.
In July?
So, yeah.
Really?
Very few.
So
I don't know. Now Clay really knows how to roll out the hospitality rug there. It was hot, sunny, wind was calm, and like you, it took us about 20 minutes to hook a fish up.
There you go.
I think there's a few guys up around that lodge that might know what they're doing. So now, Clay, I see one question here from Oscar LeBlanc. Do they take spoons? So I guess, basically when you're trolling, what are you trolling with? I mean, we did it vertical. If someone's coming there to do it a different way, what do they use?
Everybody has their favorites. We've, of course, right from traditional daredevils, copperback daredevils, to Williams wobblers, to different variations of like nasty boys and nasty girls, Sutton spoons, moose look wobblers. One of our favorites are the quick fish and the flat fish, just for the technique that we use. But there's not a lure out there that hasn't caught a fish. The only one that hasn't caught a fish is one that hasn't been fished with. And that's a common question I get from new clients and old clients alike. I suppose this won't work. I can't tell you that it won't work because I've never used it. It's just like fishing salmon. If your favorite fly is a green machine or a Jock Scott, and that's what you're going to fish with. So you can't say that a rusty red won't work. Just you're not fishing with it. So
I'm going to ask some questions on behalf of some newcomers that might want to try this out at your establishment. Do I need any special gear? Will my spinning gear be okay? Do I, I hear that you have to have downriggers. I mean, I'm sure these are questions that you hear quite often.
Very often. Everything, it all depends on the style of fishing that you want to do. When you and I first started talking about you coming and experiencing Long Lake, we talked about the poor man's downrigger, if you will.
Yeah.
I think of the name of it right now, but the little weight.
Clip weights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since then, I've invested in them, and they are, they do they work fantastic. Depending on the time of year when you're there, of course, as you guys mentioned, the ice out when the fish are shallow, Rapalas and things of the like there, trolling, flat lining on the surface. We've got some guys that have that down to a fine art. They come and they really, really do well. As it gets a little bit warmer, it's not all about downriggers, but if that's your style of fishing, yeah, they are a great aid. We fish with lead line, we fish with wire line, weighted systems. You have to get to where the fish are, and that's not that hard to do in Long Lake once you get a feel for it. Doesn't do you much good to come and talk to the guides and have them give you advice, and you go out and do something just the opposite. You'll leave disappointed because that's your choice, right?
Mm-hmm. Couple comments coming in. Dipsy divers. What about dipsy divers? Rob Langer's curious.
Yeah, well, dipsy divers definitely do work if you know how to run them. I find people have trouble with them because of the not being familiar or knowing how to tune them. They will take you, and there's some beautiful ones out there. You can load them with scent, and they look like torpedoes, and they can get right to the bottom faster than a lead weight can. And there's a lot of bottom in Long Lake, actually. Like some of it'll up and grab you. So
I wanna add two things to your conversation here, Clay, about different things to try. When it comes to spoons, I'm going to name one spoon that I personally have had a lot of success with on other bodies of water. I did not get a chance to try it on Long Lake yet, but the spoon is called the Jake. It's kind of a slender kind of spoon, single treble on it, of course. I believe it's made by a Moose Lock.
Okay.
But it's called the Jake. That fish has caught probably more lake trout for me than any other given spoon. The other thing I want to kind of mention that I know seems a little bit unorthodox is the best word. And I think my Quebec guide, Laker guides are going to kill me for saying this one, but I'm going to throw it out there if you guys want to try it. Square bill crankbaits for bass run trolling for Lakers. Something about that tight, short wobble, it just absolutely hammers them. It's very untraditional. You know, normally when you think lake trout, you're thinking a long, slender type of shape presentation, like a Rapala or something like this. This is the other way of thinking. This is shorter, stubby with the bill, and all it does this left to right. I guess similar to a quick fish, but even tighter than that. And it seems to have been really well. I see comments coming in from Jason and from Nate that the MEP Cyclops is a go-to. Oh, you know what, Jason? Thank you for bringing up the spoon I'm talking about is by Williams, and it's called the Jake. Yeah, so that's my little 2 cents.
So I guess the moral of the story here is if you've thought to try it because there's enough fish in that lake and they've seen a lot of different presentations. You show them something different like we did when we were there. We kind of put it in front of them in a way they don't see as often. I'm not saying never, but as often. And sometimes that can be the difference between a couple fish and a lot of fish.
And make no mistake, like I'm going to take some pictures and put it on the screen here. Like, we're not talking little lake trout. I mean, we're talking thick, really hard fighting, like amazing specimens. You know, we're not.
They're hardy fish. They're thick looking fish.
Really thick. So just to clarify, everybody thinks the lake trout is not actually a trout. Lake trout are actually part of the char family, but they fight like heck. I'm going to say spring is probably when they fight the hardest. If I had to choose a time of year where their battle is just like, oh my goodness, and they're just going to spool you, I would say spring definitely. They will definitely put your equipment to the test. But that's, I mean, Clay, would you say that's kind of like an average size? I would say.
Yeah, that is. That's a real good representation there. Yes.
I mean, you can almost, if you're going to catch fish at Long Lake, you're almost guaranteed to catch something around this, this type of size for sure, because there are so many of them, right? And then, and that's even a bigger one there.
Well, yeah. I guess we should. And Matt, I apologize if what I'm about to ask Clay makes you cry. So folks, don't hold it against Matt when he starts crying. What are your two? What's your biggest Laker and what's your biggest Landlocked that have come out of Long Lake, Clay?
Well, the official record for the lake trout is 23 pounds 4 ounces caught by Pigeon Hill. That was several years ago. We've since beaten that. We've caught fish over 25, but we've been more concentrated on getting them back in the water and not doing the actual measurements. Landlocked salmon is 21.5 pounds.
So, Clay, let me ask you, like, what are you using for line?
What?
Leaders. What are you using for line and leaders when you're trolling? I know when we went out, you ran us through some gear, and Steve was the guide, and he ran us through some gear quick, and we were there pretty short, so I didn't get a lot of the details. But if I'm looking to take Michelle and the kids back up this summer, and we're going to come and bring the boat and get out there, what kind of rod, what kind of line, and what would, like, if we were going to do some simple trolling?
I've been really lucky with the lead line on a level line. I don't know whether I'm allowed to drop names or not, but I'm going
drop whatever names you want, Clay.
Go see Amanda at Minnow Tackle and tell her that you're coming to Long Lake Adventures and you want a rod combo with everything that you need, and she'll hook you up. So it comes fully dressed with lead line, 8 to 10 colors, and then your leader, And if you want to put a fluorocarbon tippet on it and tie again, it's a flatfish, quick fish, moose look, flutter chuck spoon, something not too heavy. Because if you put a 5 of diamonds on this system, chances are it's going to drag through the dirt. You're going to be hung up instead of fishing. But that's the simplest, most user friendly method that we have found. There's no downriggers involved. You do a fish finder or depth finder, if you will, just to find out that you've got this many colors out. You don't want to be fishing in 170 feet of water. You want to be fishing in closer to 65 or 70 if that's your target. So, but that is definitely something that anyone can go out. And we've had folks come rent these types of rods and reels from us without a fish finder or a depth finder, and we've just told them to go over to the big rock and let the breeze carry them from west to east or east to west and drift through that bowl that Ben mentioned and hook up fish. So it's again, it's a very user friendly and it works. It produces.
I want to add 2 comments to those individuals who might be wanting to start simple. Absolutely what Clay mentioned. You could literally drift with the wind right across, any of those bays, really, or not bays, but holes. One small tip, if you're thinking of doing that and you want to be low tech, look for something that you could use as a drift sock. This is maybe the first time I've ever mentioned that on the show. So if you don't know what a drift sock is, YouTube it. And really what it is, it's a big kind of bag, water parachute kind of situation. You can make one, but it'll help slow down your drift, especially on those really windy days. Believe it or not, even when we're trolling on motor, we don't want to troll too fast for Lakers. Guys with 9.9s, no problem. You're going fast enough to troll for Lakers. There's no problem there. But if you want to have a little bit more controlled situation, depending on the wind, bring a drift sock with you, and you'll be able to slow down your drift a little bit. Keep that presentation consistent as you go across these hot ticket areas. I do want to address a couple of questions coming in on my side. What was the setup that we were using to vertically jig for these lake trout? So totally different setup, unfortunately. You can't use what Clay just mentioned to do what we were doing, and here's why. You need a pretty high quality rod with a very fast tip. You're going down sometimes 70, 80 feet of water. That rod has to be stiff enough to be able to hook set. The fish's mouth are pretty hard, right? So you need something that's stiff enough to hook set. But as you've seen, or Donnie, maybe you can share this, Donnie was having a hard time hooking into fish when we started, even though he was getting the bites. And I'll let him explain that after. But the key is to have the right rod. I was only using 10-pound braid. I want it thin enough so I have less resistance in the water, so it cuts through the water real quick. And to that 10-pound braid, I was running a 12-pound fluorocarbon leader for invisibility. Okay, and that was the setup, and I believe we're running a 1/2-ounce jig head. But I'll let Donnie talk about how important that tip was.
Well, yeah, because we had a medium and a medium heavy. And the medium, Ben started out using, and we were both getting all kinds of bites. But the rod I was running a little slower tip, and I just couldn't get, once I did get a hook set, I had no problem getting the fish to the boat. But I just didn't have the right feel to get that hook set. So that straight medium compared to the medium heavy with a little bit faster tip was all the difference in getting the fish to the boat. I shouldn't say that. If I could hook one, I could get it to the boat. But early on, until we figured out exactly what was happening, I would say Ben was probably 2 to 3 to 1 ahead of me in hookup ratio, and it was just the difference in the rod. We switched rods, and that ratio reversed. So it really does come down to that faster tip.
Yeah. So, you need a high, when I say high quality, you don't want something that's like a noodle. You need something with a firm backbone with just a tip that goes, but that tip still has to be flexible enough to detect that bite and have that delay once you do, that vertical hook set. So I hope that answers the question. All right.
So Pete, Matt, unfortunately you guys weren't there with us. Any more questions that you guys have?
Yeah, I got a couple. I think one thing I was wondering about is, and just to kind of make sure everybody knows that, Steve's was one of the guides there. Obviously, Clay knows the lake well, and you guys went on your own. Is this something as an amateur that you can kind of go out and enjoy? I mean, like we had a good time being on the lake in a boat. The fishing was like super icing on the cake because we hooked up lots of fish. But you don't necessarily need a guide on that lake, right?
No, you don't. We have a lot of folks come and freelance and do their own thing and have great luck. Again, if you take a little bit of advisement from the shore, if you're on a trip on your own, it will do nothing but help your experience. But that's a lot of that just depends on the person.
And there's a launch. The launch is right there next to the cabins.
Yeah.
I would love to go out again and get that, one-on-one advice. But I think it's important for people to understand that you can go with a guide on the first day and then maybe try it on your own the next day and give that a whirl too. It's a really unique experience.
We're not able to do that. Guided trips are strategically set up. They're 2 days just to keep, we only have a limited number of guides on staff and they're booked solid. So you either come on a guided trip or you don't. We will give you advice from the get-go. But we encourage folks to bring their own boats for sure. I mean, it's a beautiful lake. There's a lot to see, a lot to do, and a lot to learn. It's a great experience.
I think a lot of how someone approaches it as a newcomer really depends on their own expectations. Because at the end of the day, you've got a 2,250 acre lake that's absolutely visually spectacular. So if you want to go and have a nice, relaxing weekend, and like you said, Pete, kind of top it off with the icing on the cake being catching a few fish, go try it on your own. If you really want to learn Long Lake and you want to learn techniques for laker fishing, then maybe your first time around, pay for the guided trip, pay for the guided weekend, and then take that experience and that knowledge into doing it yourself the next time. You can do it either way. And I could honestly, I'll put it to you this way. When we watched the show, I gave my wife and my son a chance to watch a rough cut prior to the show going on the air. And they didn't want to. They said, no, we want to see the finished product. When it aired 2 weeks ago, just a week and a half ago or whatever it was now, my wife watched it for the first time. She wants to go and just sit on the deck of one of the cabins and read a book while I fish. Like, I could go up there and not catch a fish and still enjoy every minute of it. So it really depends on your expectations as a person and as an angler, what you want to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. And Matt, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering. I know that there's brook trout there as well. Is there any other species, or is that it? Lakers, brookies, and landlocks.
There are other species. There's yellow perch, of course.
Okay.
There's whitefish in the lake. We haven't had a chance to target that.
What? There's lake whitefish in there?
Yeah.
Oh,
there's 30 pounds.
Do we have a size? Like, what size whitefish, Clay? Any ideas?
Yeah, according to the sonar, they're upwards of 7 pounds or so.
That makes it the biggest whitefish I've heard of yet in the Maritimes. I haven't seen anything north of 4 pounds or heard of anything of that nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been told that there's some good brookie fish in there in some of the, I guess there's maybe rivers that connect lakes or something like that, I was told. Can you tell me more about that? Because I'm a brookie guy. Like, if you told me there was a spot where I could get like 2-3 pound brookies, I'd probably blow a day down there trying to get one on the fly. I'm not gonna lie to you.
The potential for that, Matt, is Mud Lake is user friendly, and there's a great opportunity to wade and fish where the inlet puts in, and there's a drop off, and there are some nice brook trout down in there. We've caught them upwards of 6 pounds, but not on a regular basis. It's certainly nothing that compares to Labrador or anything like that, but the potential's there. You're going to catch 12 to 14, 16-inch brookies, healthy fish, lots of spunk. and several landlocked. I mean, it all depends on what type of fly fishing you want to do. We fish a lot of streamers and fish them very aggressively, but on a calm evening, there's nothing like fishing the raises with a dry fly, and you don't know what you're going to hold.
Oh, the dry fly.
Yeah, I can attest to that, because when we were there, I was lucky enough to have Clay guide myself and Michelle and the two kids. And Michelle had never thrown a fly rod before, and Samantha had never flung a fly rod before. And all of us hooked up fish, and Michelle actually caught her first landlocked salmon on the fly down in Mud Lake, and it was like unbelievable experience. And it's a neat little walk down through the woods on the other side where the lake long lake drops out into it. Matt, we'll get you here.
Clay, you can't drop that kind of info without giving some insight as to the type of flies that you need to have in your box when you show up.
Streamer flies are all custom tied pretty well, the ones that we use. We use Mud Lake minnows, Henry smelts, ice outs, and then your traditional gray, white, black ghosts. Dry flies, wolves. Any kind of wolf at all. Just it looks like a mayfly sitting there, and they really, really like them.
So, I mean, talking about the size, should I be packing a 4-weight, a 5-weight, 6-weight, or what do you think?
Oh, they're a lot of fun. I fish them on a 4, 5, right up. I mean, if all you have is a salmon rod, a 9-foot 8-weight, bring it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in the fact that you're catching them on a fly rod. So, not everybody has an inventory of them. So.
But given the choice, would you say a 4 or a 5?
5.
5. Gotcha. Writing that down.
So, Matt, how many vacation days are you about to waste in the spring, or?
All of them. All of them.
The problem is, hey, Pete, I'm going to direct this to you real quick. Sorry, I want to throw this up there for Clay. Ashley wants to know what time of year is best to fish landlocked on a fly.
All summer.
Really? Okay.
I think in your stack of pictures that I sent you, there's a picture of a gentleman with a landlock with a pair of chest waders on. That's Mud Lake in May.
And we were there in July.
So
how far is that from the main lodge?
5-minute walk.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
It's really out of the way.
So when you're far out of the way.
When you're
with
fishing
waders on.
Yeah.
I'm getting lightheaded here, boy. I'm getting lightheaded here. Okay.
When you're fishing that in the summertime, Clay, is that like for the landlocks on the fly? Is that's an evening fish primarily, like early morning and into the evening?
It's more so in the evening, Donnie. There's 45 minutes. It's lower. It's down in a hole. The sun will go down below the trees, but you still have 45 minutes to an hour of decent daylight to fish. They seem to come in and feed then, and it's seriously unbelievable. At that time, for that 45 minutes, you're either hooking, playing, missing, or landing a fish.
I could live with that for 45 minutes to an hour a day.
There's a real good specimen of a landlock for anywhere, but that's an 8-pound female caught in May. Lachlan McIntosh caught it on a fly.
Is that in current or in the still water?
Just off to the right of the current.
Really? Matt's speechless. He didn't know what to say right now.
Oh, I'm just like, okay. I guess I got 2 months off in the summer. How many weeks can I blow up there?
Well, okay. So circling back to what I wanted to say to Pete, May is just ridiculous. Like, I wish we could duplicate May 3 times over. I mean, even if you fished every single day in May, you're not going to be able to hit it all. So you got to make decisions, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, this one is up there for sure in May. But as you see through the season of fishies, guys, I mean, we're going to take you everywhere. We're going to take you to Miramichi. We're going to take you to we took you to Bathurst. We'll bring you to Yarmouth, and there's so many great opportunities. But this one's a tough one, Clay. You present a very, very interesting proposition.
I can't say enough about Long Lake, the hospitality that Clay and Tanya extended to us, the experience as a whole. Clay, one question I have been asked by a few different people, so I should probably bring it up tonight because I don't remember the exact numbers, but I know you have the guided all-inclusive packages. What are your rates like for the different levels you offer?
The guided trip is a 2-day trip. You arrive today at 2:00 and then stay 2 nights and fish until 11. Meals are included. So that's one guide, 4 fishermen, everything included, equipment, gear, and your experience at Mud Lake. So we dabble at everything that we do. And for 4 folks, that's running currently at $2,800.
Okay. And for folks who want to come up with their own boat and just learn the lake on their own?
Check in at 2, check out at 12. It's $120 per person for that stay. That's your accommodations, your gate fee, and your fishing on the lake. So
12 the next day, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can make as many days as you want, minimum 2 days, but you can stay. In the last 2 years, stays have been becoming 5 days more frequently. So
how much to book 2 months?
How much to book all of May?
Yeah, how much?
The whole month.
I want it. Just buy it all out for the month.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Clay, we can't thank you enough.
Call for details.
Call for details.
Yeah. No, Clay, we really can't thank you enough. I mean, every minute of our experience with you, whether it's been on the show the few times you've been on and our time up at the lodge, has been nothing but world class. The fishing, the experience, everything. Hats off to you and Tanya and all your staff up there, everything you guys do. I could talk to you all night about that, but I mean, we've been waiting for Matt. I don't think he's going to be able to make it on tonight, but we still do have to talk a little bit about episode 2. Hopefully we'll have a chance to get Matt on and talk a little more, but like I said, can't thank you enough. Anyone, if you have questions, Clay, where do they find you on the internet, social media, website, all that sort of stuff?
LongLakeAdventures.com. Check out Facebook, Instagram. We're not hiding. We're pretty easy to find.
So if you have any questions, folks, look them up. And if for whatever reason you think they're hiding and you can't find them, well, you can find us and we'll put you in touch. So Clay Harrison, folks, Long Lake Adventures. Guys, unless someone's got a last minute question.
Yeah, and I mean, if anybody comes on later with more questions of Lake Trout, we'll continue entertaining those a bit. But thank you, Lake, for being on. Clay, for being on.
Yes, thank you guys, and once again, my hats off to the quality of the episode, and forward to doing many more with you.
Well,
Landlocked salmon. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Clay. Look forward to talking
Thanks,
to you
Clay.
soon, my friend.
Take care.
Yep.
Thank you, Clay. Great to see you.
May.
Sounds
So
like
let's
Matt's
see.
moving into Long Lake.
Yeah. So
You literally need a puke bag next to you, Matt, when you're talking.
What did he say after 6 pound
But he's
trout?
so
'Cause
straight
I
faced.
didn't
It's
hear-
like it's no
after
big
that, I was
deal.
like, don't.
You know.
I didn't catch anything after 6 pound.
6 pound brookies,
rookie.
20 pound landlocks, 23 pound Lakers. No big deal. What's up?
I like how he said, like, it's not as good as Labrador or nothing. I was like, you got a 6 pound rookie? What do you mean?
I think you, Ben and Matt, you both need to go back and rewatch tonight's episode because the expressions on your faces at different points throughout this. I mean, Ben, for you, it was the whitefish. For
I
Matt,
didn't even
it's
know he had
yeah.
whitefish.
Matt. For you, it's been everything.
Yeah, 7-pound whitefish.
Yeah, that's gross. Like
That might make
Don't
sense
think.
too as to why those Lakers are so like hardy. I mean, if they're feeding
But-
on whitefish.
yeah, but if they're big whitefish, that's another thing. Because
Yeah.
whitefish, interestingly enough, is part of the salmon nut family. even though it doesn't look like a salmon whatsoever, but it's actually part of the salmon family. And lakes that have big whitefish always have other big fish. So it totally makes sense. Like the other lake I can think of is Simcoe in Ontario. They have giant lake whitefish, but they also have giant everything else. Like they're part and parcel, right? Part and parcel. It's another indicator of a lake that has, big trophies in it. So Donnie,
I was just gonna say, I wonder if Clay got some snowmobiles to get us back there. Imagine ice fishing back there.
We didn't
trust me. I asked.
Yeah,
you asked way ahead of me. Hey, no,
it's
helicopter. No, nothing.
No. Oh, you could get there with a helicopter, but that would be about the only way you're getting there.
Rob's like 100%. Yes, let's go ice fishing. Of course, I'm sick. It'd be the most insane ice fishing anywhere.
No,
it is that and maybe Waikagama.
It is not open for ice fishing, and that's.
And he would not appreciate you parachuting in.
No, not at all.
Oh, darn it!
But he'd probably still make you breakfast.
Probably. Donnie, I'm going to have a suggestion here. Matt's not here to talk about episode 2. We could table that for the next one, man. I really would rather have them on, and we can table that.
Yeah, we definitely can, and I'll touch base with Matt. I mean, these things happen when you do live broadcasts. Life gets in the way sometimes, and
sure.
We can, at the very least, I'd like to say, hats off to Matt and his crew at Bass Attack Fishing in Bathurst, and we will touch base, or I'll touch base with him later tonight or tomorrow, whenever I can get him on the line.
You mentioned something important. So on Sunday, we put our first episode of Long Lake on our YouTube channel. So for those of you who don't have Wild TV, every Sunday morning at 9, we'll be premiering a new episode for the next 9 weeks on our YouTube channel. So this Sunday,
9 or 9:30,
or maybe 9:30, Sunday morning. Anyhow, look at our Facebook page. But every Sunday morning, you'll be able to catch that next episode. So the episode that we did in the Bay of the Chaleur will be up this Sunday for you guys to watch as well. And that'll be every Sunday. So if you're not watching it on Wild, which we do encourage you to do, of course, 2 weeks later, they do get on YouTube. So you guys can watch that as well.
And as we mentioned before, Amazon Prime distribution is still coming.
Pending. Yeah.
But it's going to come after the run on Wild, and then everything's got to be reformatted a little bit, and then we're going to drop the whole season in one shot on Amazon Prime for the world to see.
Absolutely. Question coming in, or not a question, but a statement coming in from our friend Gerald Foster. He says that you can have success at Long Lake with any sonar unit from our experience. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
The one thing I was concerned of was that everybody thought after watching that first episode that, oh, great, of course they can catch those fish because they've got a fancy Panoptic sonar that costs X amount of dollars. And truth be told, did we catch more fish? Maybe. I'm not going to lie. The Panoptics, certainly there's an advantage. But would we have caught a ton of fish either way, even if we had regular sonar? I guarantee we would have. For sure. Because once you figure out roughly what they're holding, and then you can figure out how they want it. Yeah. Really, the most important thing is a regular sonar and a trolling motor that can keep you in place. Because I don't know when you were there, Pete, but man, if the wind kicks up on Long Lake, it kicks up a bit.
Yeah, it kicked up at night there, and you want to have the right trolling motor, especially if you're going to do some of that vertical jigging with the spot lock technology. I mean, I use that fishing stripers on the St. John River and up in the Miramichi, and definitely when you need to be spot on, especially if you find them on those optics. Stay in the spot, up and down. Wind kicks 100%. Up. Yeah.
And I actually kind of curious to try fishing them the more traditional way the next time I go up. Try the different techniques. I want to clarify on something that I wrote this down here. Clay mentioned clip weights. It's something that I showed him. So I don't have a picture of it, but if you Google clip weights, this is a very, very affordable way to get your bait down deeper if you're there a little bit after May. Let's call it June into July if you don't have the downrigger. So what is a downrigger? I'm just going to give you a downrigger 101. The downrigger is simply a device which connects to your line with a weight, and therefore you can control how deep your presentation will swim based on how deep you drop the weight. Once it senses a bite, it'll detach from the weight, and then you're free to fight the fish. But essentially, it's just a device to help bring your bait down to certain depths. Why do you want to do that? As the surface water temperature rises, those fish go deeper and deeper. If you can figure out what depth they're in, you want to run your bait only at those depths, therefore maximizing your fishing time. What the clip weight does is a simple system. It comes in a box, and you have different size weights from 1/4 ounce all the way to 3 ounces. And with it comes a chart. So it'll tell you that if you want to, for example, put the bait down, call it 20 feet, it'll say, okay, on 20 feet deep, you need a 1 ounce weight, and it's a 50-50 system, meaning if you want to run 100 feet of line, once you reach 50 feet, you clip the weight and you let it go at another 50 feet. And that chart will tell you, based on that calculation, how deep said bait will run. So if you're running a John boat or something that you don't have necessarily a downrigger system on, easy system to be able to get your bait lower than its intended running depth. Because you look at a box of a Rapala, it'll tell you, this bait will go down, call it 12 feet. Well, you can get it to 25 feet if you use something like a clip weight system. So just wanted to clarify what that was.
A line counter is kind of important there too. It's not essential, but it is definitely important because, like Ben said, it's a 50-50 system. So the more accurate you are on, where your line is or how much line is out, the more accurate you're going to be on exactly what depth that's running at. Oscar, the launch at the lake is actually really good. It's no problem at all launching a good sized boat.
Yeah, we launched, ours was a 17-foot V-hull, multi-species, no problem.
Yeah. And well, I mean, Clay's got big pontoon boats there, and, they've got some good sized boats as well. So launching is not an issue. So, I don't know what else to say. Like I said, before we let Clay go, I could talk all night about fishing up there. I mean, I could talk all night about any of our episodes. I don't want to, downplay one over another. These podcasts recapping 2 in 1 episode is probably going to get tight from time to time, but every one of these experiences has been a load of fun, and I'm excited that we're finally getting it out there for folks to see, and it's I don't know what else to say.
I have a question for Pete.
Okay.
Here. Yep. What has your feedback been from your circle of people seeing that we put the Maritimes on national television?
Yeah, fishing? I think what I was going to allude to when Donnie started talking there was, we're the pandemic has certainly made us explore our own backyards a lot more, and we're starting to see, New Brunswickers exploring New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, all throughout Atlantic Canada, especially with the Atlantic bubble. And I know for me personally, it's given me a chance to really dive deep, because I would always try and go to a different state or province and chase different fish. Here we are looking at like an incredible gem that's now being featured all across the country and soon to be broadcast all around the world on various different, on YouTube and on Amazon. It's exceptional, and I think there's a lot of people excited to see that. Maybe it will help us New Brunswickers to be like, oh, I don't have to go to Manitoba to catch this, or I have to go to Maine or Florida or whatever to catch these species that we actually have right here. We have an incredible opportunity, and we're driving there. We're driving there in 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours, and we're in the middle of nowhere. It really, like for myself, and I know a lot of people that I speak to, it's really made us appreciate what we have in the province. And so thank you guys from Fish East and all the work that you did over the past several years to kind of get this into mainstream media and show the world that, maybe we got a special little place. And I'm starting to think the secret's out on this. I don't know. People are really starting to discover the Maritimes for some incredible fishing.
Yeah. And, that was the whole goal. It's been the goal with Fish East since we started it. Multi-species, multi-technique, accessibility, what we have in the region, and what a gem. Period. Long Lake, what a freaking gem.
Yeah,
even for Nova Scotians, you don't have to drive to Quebec. You can do it right here. You're so much closer. For everybody.
The big thing with that we found in taking my family up there is, like my son fishes with me, and my daughter will go, and my wife will go, but it was bigger than that. And we were there, and Clay and Tanya and Steve welcomed us like we had known them for our whole lives. And that's a bit of the secret to the maritime hospitality that we bring to inviting the rest of the world to come visit us and see all these incredible multi-species opportunities from, muskie and lake trout and striped bass and hake and all the other incredible things we have here. Oh, and we have incredible hospitality that just comes naturally from, it's either in the water because of the fishing. I don't know, but it's we're definitely showing the world.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
You see that question from Renee?
I do see that question from Renee, and Renee, no, it is not catch and release only. You have, I believe the limit is 2 on Lakers. I honestly don't know. We released every fish we caught when we were there. We were there for promotional purposes to film it and showcase it. And we wanted to make sure that those specimens went back. But no, you are allowed to keep a legal limit per angler while you're there. So
I think that mud lake is catch and release. I thought I heard that a long time ago because the guy there, Steve, he used to have a TV show on the local cable network, Eastlink here, and he was in Long Lake. That's how I first heard about it, like years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well, I know Steve was watching, and
that it was.
I'm sure Clay and Tanya are watching. If they can answer that question in our comments, I'm sure some folks would appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it was.
I could be wrong, but I thought it was.
I asked that question, and Clay said, obviously they don't want everybody going in and taking their limits every day because that's.
Yeah.
But if somebody wanted to take a fish, I think it's legally 2 fish, but maybe take 1. There's Steve right there.
Steve just commented 2 fish, trip limit, mud lake is catch and release. So
you mean I have to put back that 21-pound landlock I'm about to hook up? That's terrible.
Oh my god!
Captured forever on film.
I can't even picture that. I haven't even seen or caught a
Do you know what my PB landlock is so
let
far?
alone a landlock.
You know what my PB landlock is so far? 4 pounds.
10 pounds. How
4.
much? 4?
4 pounds.
Oh wow. Okay.
So when he said 20, I right near choked myself. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Anyhow, guys, there's something we saved for the end. We did 2 episodes. Episode 1 we did Long Lake. Episode 2 we went up to the Bathurst area and discovered striper 4 different ways. I'm sure we'll talk about that on the next live. But the next episode airing this Thursday, we're talking about
Ben.
Yep.
I think it's only fair that someone else introduce where the next episode is.
Well, I was going to introduce him so he can introduce the episode.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I was setting it up for him, right? Because without further ado, Matt Cito, tell us what the next episode is.
Well, very happy to say
I thought he was going to draw a blank.
That our 3rd episode is in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. We were chasing, and we're going to be chasing down some monster chain pickerel in that episode. It was a good trip.
Don't knock the Yarmouth smallmouth either.
Yeah, don't knock the smallmouth.
They'll have to watch just to see what goes on. But it was.
How about we do one better? Why don't we play a little teaser about what that video episode's about, and we'll take 2 minutes and talk about maybe what to expect.
That sounds wonderful.
All right, here we go. Episode 3 coming this Thursday.
The boys travel to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, known province-wide for their large smallmouth bass and record chain pickerel. Catch Fish East on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 Atlantic, only on Wild TV.
So I'm a New Brunswicker, but I'm going to admit, and Donnie, you're going to have a hard time arguing with me what I'm about to say. Darn it, does Yarmouth have big chain pickerel? I mean, it doesn't even make sense, the type of chain pickerel that live over there.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who know me, who know how I kind of got a little further into the fishing community with my wife and I and some of our friends, Jason and Cindy, and a few others running a charity pickerel tournament called Fishing for Memories. And we have handled some big pickerel, multiple in the 27 to 28 inch length. Absolutely nothing that compares to the girth of those Yarmouth chain pickerel.
It doesn't even make sense. Pete, have you ever fished for chain pickerel in Nova Scotia or in Yarmouth specifically?
Never. No,
okay,
but I feel like I'm like Matt right now thinking about Long Lake because I fish a ton of chain pickerel here in New Brunswick, and I've caught some big fish. So if you're telling me that they're monster fish all over the place in Yarmouth, then looks like I'm heading down.
Dude, okay.
I can't wait to see this episode.
Here's what I'll have to say. First of all, the smallmouth are big. The smallmouth are big too. Like people everything. Oh, Nova Scotia smallmouth. Well, let me tell you, there's big smallmouth, especially in Yarmouth, and you'll see it on the show. Don't want to give it away the spoilers of how we find them, but we'll save that for a future live. Incredible panfish fishery as well. Like in, I don't think it's a secret that Matt and I specifically really love white perch. So yeah, we had to take some time to target some of those. But here's what I'll say about the pickerel. They are mutant pickerel. The tail. So if this is the fish, right? And you lay it on its side, okay? This is the tip of the tail. The meat on that tail literally is a 90-degree from the tip of the tail and then runs across. There is no taper. That's the best way I can explain it. It doesn't even make sense. So what that translates to in a fight.
So, I mean, Justin Hines' comment and saying 5-pound pickerel are not hard to find.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a total different thing altogether. And I wish we got him on the fly, but we didn't. But anyhow.
And hey, that was where the most famous picture in Fish East history has come from.
It has, and unfortunately, I can't show it tonight. But I think what everybody knows.
You don't have it ready.
It is. No,
you
I don't have
it
it ready.
We don't have the famous fish taco. Oh my God!
Well, you're about to see the birth of the fish taco legend that is Magneto in this next episode.
The tail.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. Shout out to Justin Hines for definitely helping us out on that show when we were down in Yarmouth for sure. I want to talk about what Steve's talking about here. Ben was on one of my shows in Mush Lake when you guys, holy cow, that's Steve Clapperton. I just put the dots together. So what he's talking about, here.
How many Steve Clapperton do you know anyway?
No, I was flown into Nova Scotia one year to do a workshop on tournaments and whatnot. And these guys took me and we had a tournament there on Big Mush. And I won the tournament with actually, I'm going to correct. He says 5.01 is actually 5.13 pounds. Which stands, I believe, unless somebody can prove otherwise or let me know otherwise, the largest bass ever weighed in a tournament in Nova Scotia was a 5.13 pounds. That's a big bass anywhere. But
you're right, it is.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up, Steve. Thank you.
I think I remember that episode. You caught it on a white tube, I believe. Correct?
How did you know that?
I think it was on what he's talking about, because I remember having this conversation with you before, and I was like, yeah, I know you caught it on a white tube. And you're like, how did you know that? Yeah, I saw it somewhere.
Yeah,
I remember.
And I fished a tube, even though there's no crayfish in Nova Scotia. That's the whole funny
You
story.
also said that in the video as well, and that stuck with me. I remember that. I was like, tube, okay.
Would have thought. Cool. There you go. Anyhow, check it out, guys. This Thursday, airing on Wild TV.
Big pickerel.
7:30 Atlantic. Episode 3, Yarmouth County and Acadian Shores, doing some multi-species and showing you what Nova Scotia is all about.
Awesome.
So Pete, book your ticket on the. I was going to say Princess of Acadia. That's not what it's called anymore, is it? No,
no. The Bay Fundy Ferries. I think it's just
Bay Ferries, but I lost the name of the boat.
Maybe I'll just take my boat.
That'd be a journey.
Straight across.
We were lucky enough to take the Bay Ferry across. That was a beautiful ride. I mean, super easy.
That's awesome. I
just drove right into St. John, plopped on her, and next thing you know, we were on the other side enjoying some scallops.
Yep.
A little place called Digby. You might have heard of it.
And, I traded the lighthouse one year for scallops.
Did you?
Yeah,
makes sense.
We had the lighthouse on the waterfront, and they wanted to remove it. And Digby, the mayor of Digby, wanted it for because
like the structure.
One of those things the actual physical structure. So Jesse and I brokered a deal to trade the.
The dirty dealings, the dirty
a lot of things
dealings.
Done.
The Bay of Fundy stuff that happens. The Bay of Fundy stays there.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine hauled that for you, Pete.
No doubt.
The truck that hauled that was a friend of mine.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's truth.
Yeah.
That's
all right.
Yeah. No, my dad will be excited too. My dad grew up in Yarmouth fishing pickerel, and he always told me stories. And his biggest story about catching pickerel. He's like, oh, my dad said right after the rain, you got to go pickerel fishing right after the rain because they come in close to shore and just use a worm and spinner. And I remember him telling me about catching big pickerel. Can't wait to see the show.
I've seen many pictures of the pickerel there in the spring when the Gaspro run with like Gaspro tails sticking out of the throats. Like they'll take down like a 7-8 inch Gaspro.
Oh yeah,
big chain pickerel.
I'm not gonna spoil it, guys. But Matt, I think that we will have a lot of questions of what the heck we were doing on that episode. So watch it, and you guys will circle back. You can go ahead and ask us the questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to do these recap shows every 2 weeks. We kind of get off to a bit of a start, technical difficulties. Matt wasn't able to make it. So maybe what we'll do now, we have 9 episodes. So where we just did the 1 episode tonight, if everything lines up, we'll do 2 episodes in each show for the next 2 weeks. So, we're going to be back here in 2 weeks' time, folks. Pete, I hope you can join us again. Always love having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Matt, you're going to have a little more front and center role on the next one, my friend.
I'm good with that.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Bring the recipe.
There's 2 things I want to mention here before we go. 2 things I want to mention here before we go. Obviously, thanks to anybody who's taking the time to subscribe to Wild TV, wanting to watch Fish East. That means a lot. Keep the comments coming in because the ideas and everything. I mean, we won't know about it unless somebody tells us about it. And there's so many secrets out there and treasures out there. And number 3, Matt, I want to give you every opportunity to talk about your project that we're super proud of you on.
Oh, yes. Angler's Appetite is something that my good friend Tim Myers and I have worked on over the summer and into the fall. And it's a 6-episode show that's going to be airing on Bell TV 1, which is kind of like the on-demand for Bell TV. Hopefully soon, probably in the next week or 2, that'll be coming out. And it's basically Tim likes to describe it as a fishing show that thinks it's a cooking show and a cooking show that thinks it's a fishing show. So it's kind of basically me going out and trying to get these different species of fish and finding different ways to cook them up. So it was a lot of fun to do, and can't wait for everyone to see that as well.
I have no doubt it's going to look delicious. That's what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
It'll look delicious.
Yeah.
Pete, you should do that for New Brunswick.
Yeah,
Angler's Appetite New Brunswick series.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
But
I'm down with that. Maybe we'll start with some hake on the ice.
Oh man, the hake though. Anyways, we'll save that for another conversation. That's it, Donnie. It's all yours.
Oh God! We could go on all night. This is just so much fun, but most of us actually do have to go to work at a day job in the morning, and all that regular 9 to 5 stuff. But no, thank you guys for joining us. As always, it's been a blast, and I'm really excited to see we got 2 episodes, behind us, 7 more to go, and a lot more interesting stuff coming up. So stay tuned, folks. This week, Thursday, 7:30 Atlantic, Yarmouth and Acadian Shores coming at you on Wild TV. And this coming Sunday, you will see episode 2, Beta Chaleur. Will be landing on YouTube. So depending on which platform you're watching on, check out the one that's new to you. And we'll see you back here on Fish East Live in 2 weeks' time. In the meantime, get out on the ice, do what you got to do, fish on, and fish east.
Take care, everybody.
See you guys. Thanks for having me.
When winter arrives, the temperature drops. And here in the Maritimes, our excitement rises. We embrace the adventures that cold weather brings, like new discoveries with old friends, a hot plunge on a chilly night, familiar faces in cozy new spots, and fun days that become chill nights. In New Brunswick, we know how to do winter.
Boys travel to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, known province-wide for their large smallmouth bass and record chain pickerel. Catch Fish East on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 Atlantic, only on Wild TV.